Hey guys, so in this tip we are going to look at the n8n workflow whereby you're doing a search for something and the search returns no result. Now if you're using make.com, what you can do is you can search for something and you return either the number of bundles is 1 or greater, or number of bundles equals 0, i.e. it has not found anything. In n8n this is pretty different. They don't have bundles and they have a different way of working. So if we just were to search within this data set for this inbound phone number and it returned no data, this one actually does exist. It is returning data. This is what you get when it returns data. However, if it doesn't exist, what we'll do is we'll just edit this inbound data and we will change the number, which is here. There's something else random in there. Save it. Go to canvas, we'll test that, test that, test that. Go into here. And we have no output data returned. Now, what happens here when you've got no output data is n8n stops executing the workflow. So if it can't find something, it's just, that's it. That's the end. However, when you're in situations where you actually want to have something else happen when there's no data, so for example, if you're looking up a client and based on their inbound phone number and no phone number was registered in your database because they changed their phone number or something else happened, ideally what you want to do is create some kind of condition that says, we didn't find you in our database, let's gather some details. Or we did find you in our database, hi Steve, I can see you calling from XYZ company and you have these 3 products. Are you having an issue with one of them? That kind of thing. Anyway. So yes, in make you would use a bundle and you would say if bundle equals 0, do something. Or if bundle doesn't equal 0, effectively do something else. So in n8n you have to do a little bit of programmatic logic to determine whether something is contains something or not. In here I've got an execute workflow, which is what I'm going to show you in a sec, so I'll just delete that for now. And that continues to there. So this doesn't work any further. So this condition will just go from here to here to here, and then it will fail. Now, when doing this, you need to tick this, always output data. Now, this is logical but illogical at the same time, because what you do now is you test the step and it's going to produce a result. However, it's an empty array. So the workflow will continue, but it will be empty. Now you need to check for that empty array condition. Now to do that, you can do it either by creating an extra flow within the workflow, some other nodes, code nodes, etc. Or you can create another workflow specifically for checking for empty. Now, what we're going to do is create a little bit of code and a little bit of logic, and then we're going to reference that from this flow. So this is what I created earlier, but we'll delete it. What we're going to do is we're going to execute sub workflow when executed by another workflow. So this will be executed by something else. Now we need to define the conditions, so the input data. What we need to do is accept all data, so anything that comes into this will be accepted. That's it. Now we need to add some code. So we have code block, code. Now we get rid of all of this, don't need it. And here is some code. And I'll share this in the description. So what this does is it basically looks for the data that's coming into this workflow, and it's checking to see whether it's an empty array. If it's an empty array, then it's false. If it's not an empty array, it's true. The data is passed through this, so it will be the JSON that's passed through this with all of the data from the working node. except it will mark it whether it's true or false, and we'll show you what that means. So we don't need to test anything here, just need to go back here and just hit save. That's it for this. Name it something. This one's named test flow. So what we do now is we go here and we go execute sub workflow, and no, we just need that one. So now we need to go test flow. So it's from the database, so this is saved in the database. This is a flow. And we need to run once with all items, yes, properties. Now I'd suggest turning this on, so you actually wait for it to complete. It's either true or false. And this is good to go, so we'll test it. And it's false, because the previous step did not return any information. So back to canvas. So this will now complete to here. However, what I want to do is I actually want to make it do something in between. So I'll delete this and I'll just attach this to this, attach this back to this. So what this does, this is a field node. This is the found prompt data and this is the not found prompt data. So this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to my AI agent prompt to say whether it's found data or not found data. This is just easier, I think. So if it does find it, this data will be live. If it doesn't, this won't. So back to canvas, we go back into here. What I've done is in this expression, sorry, expand it out. So what we're doing here is this is just a standard. This is pulling in for all of them. And this is saying call or data found true or false. So this is just working on this execute workflow. It'll be true or false based on whether it's actually found the data. And then in the fields section, this is where I'm putting in whether if it's found, pull in the found prompt data. If it's not found, pull in the not found data. So this just comes from back in here. So these fields. So it's just setting it here. You could do it in the other one as well if you wanted to, but I'll just hit here just to make it so that it breaks it up a little bit easier. So it's just checking using an if condition. If it's found, do something. If it's not found, do something else. If it's found, if it's not found. Yeah, so that's basically it. So now this will work. So when you're running this flow, it's going to search for that phone number. And we'll just change the phone number so that we've got a found one. And I think I'll just Brett Squirrel. His phone number is that. It's a very good phone number, isn't it? So we'll just replay that one. This one just waits. This one just looks. This is basically a WhatsApp flow. So a message is sent. If this contains a message array, then continue. That's because there's a lot of other things that WhatsApp sends. We just don't want everything. We just want the message data. So it checks for the phone number. It has a message array, which means it then goes and checks the contact phone number against this. So we'll test this. It's found it, so it's going to bring in the data. Next, it will validate it. It's validated to be true. In here, it's validated again. We can see found data. So found the prompt CRM number, etc., etc., etc. That gets it passed into here, and this runs. And there we have it. So it's a little bit complicated. It doesn't work the same as make, but it's pretty simple once you've got your head around it. And the execute workflow is very handy, so you can create little individual functions for different things, and you can reuse those across all of your workflows within n8n, which is pretty cool. But like I said, you don't get any bundles. If you don't have any of these things to check to see if the arrays has data or not, then you're going to be stumped, and you'll have to do some other workarounds which aren't particularly very pretty. But this one works perfectly every time. So anyway, I hope that was useful to someone, because I think you're going to need it.